Previously on 5-Minute Freedom Tips. And if you've ever heard a horror story about a Dremel workstation drilling improper pinholes, then you don't want to miss this. This is the nest. This is what holds the Dremel. Now these screws control the direction once it's on this pipe. It's ready to go. I just have to tighten everything down, make sure everything is square and level. And now part 2 of the workstation initial setup. What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of the 5-Minute Freedom Tips. I'm RAMjetta and I'll be your host. Today we're going into part 2 of how to assemble your Dremel workstation for first-time quality. And we're going to specifically be talking about how to square and level your workstation. First, let me just start by saying if you did not watch part 1 of this series, go watch that first. The link is right there in the corner. Watch that first because that's going to show you how to set up your workstation for first-time quality. It's going to be fine-tuned when you reach this point. So now when you reach here, you'll be able to set it up with no problem. That's a very good question. It should be square and level, so when you pull your press handle down, it's coming down at a 90-degree angle. And if you've tightened all of your screws the way I suggested in the first part, that shouldn't be a problem. So we're going to go through it step by step on how to level and square your workstation. Some of the tools you may need, you can see right here on my bench. You may need a 17mm ratchet or wrench, an 11/16 ratchet or wrench, or just a simple adjustable wrench may do. Whichever one you need. You won't need all three. So if you have one of these, then you'll be able to do this. You'll also need a level. You may need some shims because if your table isn't level, you may have to put shims under different sections of the base so you're level once you go to drill. And then you may need some C-clamps depending on how you plan on securing your base. We'll go more into that in a minute. But first, let's talk about the clamps. These things here, you can get at any Harbor Freight. I do not use these to clamp down my base. These are just not for this task. So you can just get rid of those and not even worry about those. You want to have some C-clamps like this. You can have one C-clamp or you can have two C-clamps, and we'll go into the different ways you can clamp that down in a minute. So this is all that you're going to need in order to make sure that your workstation is level and square. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is make sure that your base is level. Your foundation has to be right before you get started. Now, this could be a workbench as you see here. It could be your kitchen counter. It could be your dining room table. It could be a desk. Wherever you have a clear space that you can work, make sure it's clear, clean, and able to work for your purposes. Now, my workbench has already been leveled. It's stationary. It never moves. So my workstation is level. As you can see, the bubble here is level going that way. Side to side, and it's level going front to back. So that's what you want. You want your foundation to be level. That way, when you start working with your workstation, it's also going to be level, but you're also going to check that also. So before we get to checking the level of the workstation, we want to make sure when we put this together, we had this bolt and hex nut on the back here. That's what you're going to use this for. It's a 17mm. You're going to make sure that that's absolutely tight. All right, just give it a nice snug turn to it. Make sure it's tight. That way you don't have to worry about this moving at all. So after you've gotten that done, you want to lower your drill press assembly. You want to lower that all the way down. Take your level and you want to make sure that it is level. So mine has a magnet on it. So I just stick it to the side, make sure that that's level and it's between the two lines. So that's square. basically at this point, what you want to make sure is your base is level. Now, as you can see, that's level on there. So when I stick it on here, it's the same thing. It's absolutely same. It's going to be level because the base is level. Okay, so we know that the tube assembly is square. We know that the base is level, and we know that the foundation is level. We want to make sure that our nest is level. So now what we do is take our level, put it right on top there, and as you can see, it is level. So now we know everything is level, we know it's square, we know it's ready to go. What do you want to do? You want to make sure you clamp it in place. Now, let's talk about the clamps. These C-clamps fit perfectly on each corner, okay? But you can also use one C-clamp if you want and clamp it right in the middle. I choose to use two C-clamps because this one big C-clamp, yes, it'll hold it. I feel more secure with it being two C-clamps. So let's move those out of the way. I slide mine all the way to the front of my table. Take my C-clamp, loosen it just enough, clamp it right on the corner and tighten. Okay, so make sure that's straight. Clamp that down. You don't have to screw it real tight, just screw it enough to hold it. Then you take this one, put it in that corner, screw it till it's nice and tight. Boom. Now that's not going anywhere. The table will move before this moves. With that being said, that's it, guys. We don't have anything else. We just had to confirm that everything is level, table is level, the base is level, the tube assembly is square to the base, the nest is level. Now all we have to do, put our Dremel in, tighten up that nut. Now be careful with this nut that's on the bottom. This nut is not, it is not metal, it's not aluminum, it is plastic. When you use your wrench for it, don't tighten it down so much that you strip the nut. Just tighten it really, really tight. Make sure it's secure. And you're ready to go, guys. So basically at this point, what you want to make sure is your base is level. Now, as you can see, that's level on there. So when I stick it on here, it's the same thing. It's absolutely same. It's going to be level because the base is level, but it has to be level both ways. And as I said before, this one is kind of slanting to the back a little bit. So that's when you're going to need your shims. If it's off at all, a very little bit's not going to mean that much. But what you can do is you can take a shim. What you want to do is, in this particular case, I want to lift the back up a little bit. So I just stick it under the back here. I take my level, I put it on there, and I just slide it in slowly until my level is even. So now what I can do is I can take a pencil. And I can mark the back of it. All right. So now when I take my shim out, I have a mark. I can cut the shim there, and then I can take another shim, and then I can stick it one on each end so it's level. So I'm going to cut both shims at the same amount so I know they'll be level. And then once I put my level on there, boom, it's level. So that's just a little thing in case your base is not level at all. So that's how you use a shim. Well, there you have it. Part 2 of how to set up your Dremel workstation for first-time quality. Tune into our next episode when we'll be drilling holes in this repaired Polymer 80 940C. And as always, if you've gotten value from this episode, please feel free to click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you know when we post up. Until next episode, we'll see you soon.